Hello, I'm Richard, I'm a composer, and I'm going to tell you how I composed a piece called The Flaming Heart, which won the Finzi International Composing Competition 2023 and was performed by Trinity College, Cambridge last year. I guess the first starting point is this composer, Finzi. His piece, Lo, the Full Final Sacrifice, which was an inspiration for my piece. So Richard Crashaw had written the text for Finzi's piece, so I found another of his poems called The Flaming Heart. And it's a much longer poem, and so I edited down three sections of the poem, all beginning with the word O. So, O heart, O sweet incendiary, O thou undaunted daughter of desires. And it's a poem addressed to St. Teresa of Avila. It's really a defense of her passion and emotion seen through her faith. And what I really like about it is just the language is so vivid and dramatic, and it's got some amazing images that just seem to suggest musical interpretation. And I love these repeated lines, by all the dower of lights and fires. And it talks about brim-filled bowls of fierce desire. I also wanted to have her words as well in this piece. So I found a part of a prayer of hers in Spanish. And it roughly translates to, let nothing disturb you, let nothing frighten you. All things pass away, God never changes. And I thought that would be a nice refrain to have at the beginning and end of the piece. So I'll show you the sketches. So I write by hand. So we've got these initial sketched ideas. Actually, the first page starts with these counterpoint exercises that I did, inspired by this tome. I also just had a little kind of think about the Spanish, because I'm not a Spanish speaker, so it's just making sure I get the right syllables for Dios rather than Dios, and elided words and things. So I started on this first section, and it became just the idea of these voices entering without organ to start with, and then it would gradually build and the texture would build up. This wasn't working too well. There were bits of this that just needed to be tightened up. So I rewrote it again, and here you can see it just moves quicker through this quite folky melody. You get this la da dum dum dum. You get these little folky touches in there. There's a little moment I just sketched out this idea. I had this idea with the soprano parts. They'd start quite far apart in fifths, and then the intervals would gradually get closer and closer to a tone, and then a semitone, and then a unison, and giving the idea of a kind of consolidating this idea towards each sense of unity by the end. And I wanted the organ part to grow out of the vocal part, and you'll hear that in the intro of the piece, that the organ then moves away and creates this high, more dissonant counterpoint growing out of the low voices. And then it really culminates in this big chord where everyone sings together, "Oh Heart." And that carries on through this section, which is much simpler, and it's got just this very simple melody accompanied by these chords, and this big long swooping melody that goes all the way down and back up, and again trying to just capture the sense of passion and emotion in the melody. And then for this next section, which talks about scattered shafts of light, I wanted this triplet rhythm, and the parts really playing and responding to each other and interlocking and interweaving, and just a real sense of playfulness in that section. This next section here, the repeated lines that all start by all, and you get this sense of building and building and building until the full kingdom of that final kiss. So building to that moment. And what I did to compose this is I had this idea of these two circular patterns where one part, and I initially sketched out as just a two-part idea where the lower part would be moving in fifths through the cycle of fifths until you get back to the original D flat at the end. And that's moving in dotted crotchets, so a beat and a half each note. And then that's kind of one cycle happening. And then the other cycle is moving in fifths or diminished fifths, but each note only lasts a crotchet, a kind of syncopated crotchet off the beat. So those two patterns where you kind of get like two wheels that are moving round, one moving slower than the other one. And then I filled in the harmony with that and created this quite a dense texture, which took a long time to do. And you can kind of see how many times I've rewritten and scribbled it out, and it took such a long time. But I was really pleased with how it sounded, and when they performed it in Cambridge, they did such a fantastic job of this section, and it really just knitted together beautifully. So then the rest of the piece actually has a sense of symmetry and this kind of arch structure where the beginning and ending are the same. So I move back to the in a different key, and before that have a similar section to the Oh Heart section. So it's kind of like like a mirror, a symmetrical structure for the whole piece. And one thing to point out as well is, this relationship of a semitone is a really key one. So the ending is a semitone higher than the beginning, the same material. And if we dive into the score, just to show you, there's one. So the role of the organ, like I said, it kind of initially grows out of the quiet part. Then sometimes you get it supporting and doubling the voices, and then sometimes it plays its own echo of what the voices have done. Other times it has a much more independent character accompanying and adding more texture and its own personality to the music. But one key thing the organ does is this pulsing semitone. So like a heartbeat. So I wanted this sense of a heartbeat running like a thread through the piece. So you get it often on different notes in different moments with the organ doing that pulsing sound. So you get it quite a few times here, it comes back, and then right at the end when you get this these chords again, it's this pulsing from the E flat to the D there, just like just a very slow pulsing heartbeat underneath these really rich, still, tranquil chords. I'm really pleased with this bit. I think this is one of my favourite bits of the piece, this descent, the way the bass line just descends into this, kind of sinks into this chord here. So hopefully that just gives you a little bit of insight into how this piece was created, and you can now listen to the performance by Trinity College, Cambridge last year.